Welcome everyone, and thanks for the time that you support me for the data engineering podcast. So in this one, I think a lot of people message to me and then they ask for the guidance how we can become the data engineer and what is the guideline, the best practice for finding a job in the 2025 because right now the Gen AI is growing so fast, and it's really hard to find the job as the fresher and junior position. So I thought that we need to have some kind of way to share the message to everyone, along with the blog post or data engineering handbook that I just published. So I think I just considered the document or the slide deck and all the document that I post on the blog post, and then I put into the LM notebook. Then I just created a simple audio conversation how they use the notebook and how we can become the data engineer. So this is generated by AI, so you can use it during your um, dead times or on the train, on the bus, or just for cooking. So hopefully you can find some good example. Just overall about the document that I use. I use a data engineering 101 lecture. Also, I use all the blog posts. I just consolidated into one single file and use that as the source for the audio generation. And data engineering 101 lecture, they contains data engineering concepts such as the normalized and denormalized data, and they contain the data modeling, the data warehouse concept, all the kind of data pipelines, ETL and ELT, and also mention about the quality. Along with the data engineering concepts, there is very fundamental knowledge about the software engineering. I call just general knowledge. Um, that related to programming, unit testing, and version control, infrastructure as code, DevOps, automation, and containerization. And I also mentioned about the cloud computing, and I mentioned about the AWS data services, also the Snowflake. The audio lecture also mentioned about the blog posts and how we can use blog posts and data engineering one-on-one lecture to serve as the roadmap to equip the individuals with the knowledge and the skill to become a data engineer. Also, the handbook is designed to have the navigator words of data engineer, and I also mentioned the handbook because the knowledge is uh, still being introduced, and I still learning. So that's why the handbook is keep maintained and also updated. I just want to release a one single version as we call the version one, and another part will be the version two. But I will try my best to release. And long story short, I will let you into the audio conversation, and hopefully you can have some fun and get some insight during your development journey, especially the data engineering journeys, which is really hard. And hopefully you will love it. And just leave a comment below if you have any ideas or you want to contribute more in the data engineering. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into data engineering today.
Sounds exciting.
It is, and particularly we're going to be focusing on learning it.
Okay.
Especially, with all this stuff swirling around about AI and LLMs.
Yeah.
It's like the field is changing so rapidly. How do we even keep up?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to take in.
Luckily, we've got a great resource for today's deep dive, the Data Engineering Handbook.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
It's got so much packed into it, and we're going to pull out some of the most useful pieces for you.
All right. Sounds good.
Especially, I think, for anyone listening who's trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to learn this stuff in this crazy new world?
Yeah.
What do I focus on? So, one of the first things that jumps out at me from the handbook is this focus on like foundational knowledge. It's tempting to just jump into, the newest tech, the shiniest tools.
Oh, for sure. But that's one of the things that really struck me about the handbook, too, is that emphasis on the fundamentals. Like, even with all this rapid change, those core concepts, they're like a bedrock,
Right,
They
yeah.
allow you to adapt as things evolve.
That's such a good point. So does that mean, I need to go back and study mainframes?
Haha, no, not quite. But the handbook does make a really interesting point about how even looking at some of those older technologies like Informatica or SSIS can actually be surprisingly helpful.
Huh, interesting.
Because think about it, these tools, they were designed to solve core data management problems,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And those challenges, those are still around today, even with all the fancy new AI stuff we have.
That's true.
So understanding those underlying principles, it gives you like a mental framework that you can apply to any technology, really.
Okay, I see the value in that. But where do I even begin with that? I mean, this handbook is massive.
I hear you. I felt the same way.
Yeah.
That's why I think the mapping of contents section is so great.
Okay.
It's like a roadmap. It visually lays out all the key concepts and how they connect.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah, so I would recommend just taking a look at that first to kind of get a sense of the big picture.
All right, that's a great tip. So once I've got, the fundamentals down, where does all this tie into, AI and machine learning?
Right.
Because I'm interested in data engineering, not necessarily becoming a data scientist.
Yeah, and that's a really common misconception, actually, but here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Data engineers are actually absolutely essential to the machine learning process.
Really?
Yeah. So think about it. Data scientists, they create the algorithms,
Mm-hmm.
but those algorithms need high-quality data to learn from, right?
Oh, that makes sense.
And that's where the data engineer come in.
Okay, so I'm like the person prepping all the ingredients before the actual...
Yeah, you're responsible for extracting, transforming, and loading that data into systems that data scientists use to build their models.
I see.
And the handbook even dives into practical examples. There's this Postgres code snippet for creating a users table. It might seem basic, but this is the kind of stuff that underpins real-world machine learning applications.
Right, so it's like the foundation for everything else.
Exactly.
Okay, so now I'm starting to see how understanding that whole machine learning workflow makes me a more valuable asset.
Right.
It's not just about prepping data blindly, it's about understanding how it will be used.
Yeah. And what kind of quality standards are needed?
So I'm like a collaborator in the whole AI development process.
Exactly. And as those AI applications become more sophisticated, the role of the data engineer is evolving even further.
Okay, you've definitely piqued my interest. Tell me more about how this role is changing, especially with all this real-time data.
Well, let's imagine.
So we were talking about this, explosion of real-time data coming from everywhere, apps, sensors, everything.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah, it's like a fire hose. How do data engineers even keep up with all of that?
Well, it's definitely a challenge, but it's also what makes things really exciting right now. This influx of data means that data engineers are no longer just involved in preparing data. They're also involved in deploying and managing those machine learning models in these real-time environments.
That makes sense. You need someone to make sure the data is flowing smoothly and the models are working even with all this new data coming in constantly.
Yeah, it's a lot like being an air traffic controller for data.
I like that analogy.
And the handbook actually has this really helpful figure called the Machine Learning Deployment Guide.
Okay.
And it visually captures this idea. Data engineers now need to think about the entire ML lifecycle, from data ingestion and preparation all the way to model deployment and monitoring.
Wow, that's a lot.
And they need to make sure that data is high quality, consistent, and accessible throughout that whole process.
So it's not just about building a pipeline. It's about making sure that pipeline can adapt and scale as the AI applications, grow and change.
Exactly. And speaking of pipelines, that's another concept that I think is just absolutely crucial for aspiring data engineers to grasp.
Right, data pipelines. The handbook had this definition. I remember reading it being like, whoa.
It's a little dense, yeah.
Yeah, it was something about improving and strongly go live the data pipeline. I don't know, it kind of went over my head.
Well, let's break it down.
Okay.
A data pipeline is essentially a series of steps that take raw data and transform it into something usable for analysis or machine learning.
Okay.
It's like an assembly line, but instead of cars, we're processing data.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So the raw data comes in at one end, and it goes through these different stages of cleaning, transformation, validation, and then it's ready to be used.
So cleaning up, inconsistencies or errors or...
Yeah, and the handbook even talks about different pipeline patterns like time-ranged pipelines, delta extractions, multi-hop pipelines, each one designed to handle specific data scenarios.
Oh, wow. So it's like there's a whole art to designing these pipelines.
There really is.
What are some of the key things that, a data engineer needs to consider when building one?
That's a great question. The handbook highlights a few key concepts like source replayability, source ordering, and sync overwritability.
Sync overwritability. Okay.
These might sound technical.
They do.
But they're really essential for ensuring that data quality and consistency.
Okay, so break down sync overwritability for me. What does that even mean?
Sure, so it's all about how you manage updates to data in your destination system. Let's say you're collecting data about user activity on a website. As users interact, you're constantly getting new data that needs to be added or updated in your database.
Right.
Sync overwritability determines how you handle those updates. Do you overwrite existing records, append new ones, or use some combination of techniques?
I see.
The choice really depends on the specific use case and how you want to maintain the history of changes.
Interesting. So even something as seemingly simple as updating a database, there's a lot of nuance to it.
Absolutely. And these nuances become even more critical when we're talking about AI and ML, where data is often so dynamic and constantly changing.
This is all super insightful, but I gotta be honest, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Like, is there a shortcut, an easy way to wrap my head around all this and become a data engineer?
I wish there was a magic bullet, but the truth is,
Yeah.
becoming a proficient data engineer, it takes dedication and a willingness to learn and adapt.
Okay, fair enough.
That being said, there are definitely strategies that can make the process smoother and more enjoyable.
Okay, tell me everything. I remember the handbook mentioning something called data engineering camping.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic resource.
What's that all about?
So it's essentially the online version of the handbook,
Okay.
but with interactive elements and hands-on exercises. Think of it like a data engineering boot camp, but without the yelling.
Nice.
It guides you through practical projects and helps you build real-world skills.
Okay, so it's learning by doing, which sounds way more engaging than just reading a textbook. Is there any other tips the handbook recommends?
One piece of advice that really stood out to me was the emphasis on learning Python and API development together.
Why those two specifically?
So Python is a really versatile language that's widely used in data engineering, particularly for tasks like data manipulation and automation.
Okay.
And APIs, application programming interfaces, are essentially the glue that connect different systems and allows them to exchange data.
Right, APIs, I've heard of those.
So learning both of those allows you to build and connect the different components of a data pipeline.
Ah, I see. And this combo is especially useful for AI stuff.
Yeah, this combination of skills is in high demand for data engineers working in the AI space, where you often need to integrate data from various sources and automate complex workflows.
This is incredibly helpful. So it sounds like the key is, focus on building a strong foundation, get that hands-on experience, and then master essential tools like Python and API development. Anything else I should keep in mind as I, start on this journey?
Yeah, one thing that I think is often overlooked is the importance of soft skills.
Soft skills like what?
Things like communication, collaboration, and problem solving.
Oh, okay.
Those are just as important as technical expertise.
Huh. I wouldn't have thought of that. Why is that? Data engineering seems pretty technical.
It is, but you're always going to be working with a team of people.
Yeah.
Data scientists, analysts, business stakeholders.
Right.
Being able to communicate your ideas, understand their needs, and collaborate effectively is essential for success.
So it's not just about being a coding whiz.
No.
It's also about being a team player and a good communicator.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of networking and connecting with other data engineers.
Oh, that's a good point.
Joining online communities, attending conferences, even just having coffee chats with people in the field can provide valuable insights and open up new opportunities.
This has been incredibly eye-opening. I feel like I have a much clearer roadmap for learning data engineering now.
Oh, that's great.
In this age of AI. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how the rise of these powerful AI tools is going to impact the future of data engineering.
Oh, that's a great question, and it's something we'll definitely explore in more depth in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, sounds good. I'm ready to dive back in. Okay, so we're back and ready to wrap up our data engineering deep dive. We've talked about a lot the importance of foundational knowledge, the evolving role of data engineers, and all this exciting stuff happening with AI. But there's this one question that's been kind of nagging at me.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Well, with all these crazy, powerful AI tools emerging, tools that can automate so much like data cleaning or schema inference, even code generation.
Right.
It makes me wonder, what does the future even hold for data engineers? Are we all going to be replaced by robots?
Haha, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's one that definitely sparks a lot of debate and even anxiety within the field.
I bet.
But here's my take. While AI is absolutely going to transform the data engineering landscape, I believe it will augment our roles rather than replace them entirely.
So instead of fearing AI, we should be looking at it as like a powerful ally, a tool that can help us work smarter and more efficiently.
Exactly. It's like, think about the early days of software development.
Okay.
Programmers had to write every single line of code from scratch.
Right.
Then we got all these tools and frameworks that automated those repetitive tasks and made developers so much more productive.
Yeah.
AI is kind of doing something similar for data engineering.
Interesting.
It's taking over some of those more mundane tasks,
Okay.
which frees us up to focus on higher level problems, strategic initiatives, the really interesting stuff.
So the data engineer of the future will be more like an architect, designing and orchestrating these complex data systems while AI handles the grunt work.
That's a fantastic way to put it. And this shift, it requires a new set of skills.
Okay, what kind of skills?
Data engineers will need to become proficient in AI principles, understanding how these tools work, what their limitations are, how to best integrate them into their workflows.
So it's not just about mastering Python and building pipelines, it's also about becoming fluent in the language of AI and machine learning.
Exactly. The ability to collaborate effectively with data scientists, understand their algorithms, and translate their needs into robust data solutions is going to be more crucial than ever.
And the data engineering handbook we've been talking about this whole time, is that still relevant in this crazy, fast-changing world?
Absolutely. I think it's even more relevant now.
Okay, good.
Because it really emphasizes that importance of continuous learning.
Yeah.
It provides that solid foundation in data engineering principles, which we've talked about are so important.
Right.
Even as the technology changes and it encourages exploration and experimentation, which is the perfect mindset, I think, for navigating this kind of uncharted territory of AI-driven data engineering.
So for anyone listening who's maybe feeling a little intimidated by all this, but also excited about the possibilities, what would your advice be?
Embrace the challenge. Don't let that fear of the unknown hold you back.
Good advice.
Start with the fundamentals, get comfortable with those core tools and technologies, and then gradually layer on your knowledge of AI and machine learning.
Yeah.
And the data engineering camping section that we talked about before, that's a great place to get started with some hands-on practice.
Awesome. And remember, everyone, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
There's so much to learn in data engineering, and it's always changing.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it so exciting.
Absolutely. And the demand for skilled data engineers is only going to continue to increase as AI becomes more and more pervasive,
Yeah, in pretty much every industry.
Exactly.
Well, I think we've given everyone a pretty comprehensive look at the world of data engineering in the age of AI today.
Yeah.
We've covered the essential skills, the evolving role, and even gotten a glimpse into the future.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has, and it's been awesome having you here to share your insights.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And to all of you listening out there, I hope you found this exploration as fascinating and useful as we have.
I hope so too.
And remember, the world of data engineering is full of possibilities. Don't be afraid to dive in, get your hands dirty, and discover what amazing things you can build.
Yeah, go for it.
Who knows, maybe you'll be the one creating the next groundbreaking AI-powered application. Until next time, happy data engineering.
Read data engineering.
And keep on diving deep.